I'd like to express my sincere thanks, by the way, for Electric Autonomy team for hosting this event today. I think this is invaluable, and obviously if you give me the stage for me to talk about Honda Canada and our path to electrification. But before I begin my remarks, what I'd like to do is show you a short video that will hopefully provide some context on Honda's environmental activities and ambitions moving forward. So can we turn the video? So as you can see, the video, thank you. As you can see, the video highlights the work Honda has undertaken to reach our ambitious goals of selling battery electric and fuel cell electric vehicles exclusively by 2040 globally. And as you saw, we are focused on achieving the overall carbon neutrality across all our operations globally by 2050. And every time we play this video, people say that they didn't realize how deeply engaged Honda is in fighting climate change. Honda is the largest engine manufacturer in the world. In addition to cars and trucks, we build and sell motorcycles, ATVs, jets, marine engines, power equipment. All of this represents 28 million units a year globally. So something quite significant. So for Honda, achieving GHG reduction goals extends beyond cars and trucks, and it's why it's very important for us that we adopt a portfolio of technology strategies to achieve these goals on land, in the air, on the water, with consideration to where they are sold in the world. And as you saw in the video, even in space is what we're dabbling in right now. So many of our activities, like how we're developing technology to pull CO2 from the air that was described in the video, and how we farm the algae that convert greenhouse gas into food and biofuel, happens in R&D labs far away from public view. And if you think that this is far out, this is already being tested for aviation, with the Honda jet. But the point is the fact of the matter is that, finding innovative ways to reduce the environmental impact of all of our products and business operations has always been part of Honda's DNA. When I joined Honda more than 25 years ago, the automotive industry conversation really wasn't that different than what it is today. A little bit more intense, obviously, today. But fuel efficiency, greenhouse gas emissions, and the development of battery technology were major areas of focus for Honda then, just as they are now. We launched our first EV back in 1997, our first hybrid in 1999, our first fuel cell vehicle in 2002. Every new product that we've built and sold over the years have seen marked improvements in emissions and efficiency, leading to Honda having the most fuel-efficient fleet in the Canadian industry today, of course, compared to those with internal combustion engine those producing manufacturers. So this accomplishment was not driven by government policies, but rather by our own ambitions and founding philosophies. Honda was and still is firmly committed to achieving and exceeding GHG reduction targets. Now, prior to the proposed legislation at play today, our plan was to use a measured cadence of technologies, first consisting of hybrids, followed by plug-in hybrids, and then moving to electric vehicles as market conditions and consumer acceptance allowed for mass adoption. But things have changed. From a focus on GHG reduction objectives to a regulatory path focused on the use of a specific technology and targets and implementation timelines to push that technology to market. Now, this has forced Honda to change its plan with a significant impact to its production development cycle. That plan was based on a position of strength relative to the performance of our fleet, as I explained a moment ago. It was one structured around a portfolio of different technologies to comply and even exceed federal GHG regulations. And it was one focused on a more measured, realistic approach to the mass consumer adoption of electrified vehicles. So despite decades of environmental leadership on the GHG front, it's been suggested that Honda is a laggard in electrification. Now, fortunately, our expertise and our commitment to act in the best interest of the environment, our customers, and our business are allowing us to pivot and move forward with speed on the development and advancement of new products and technology. And that word, speed, that I've heard so often today, at least in the sections that I participated in, is the key given the regulatory timeframe imposed on us. It is a word I will stress later in the context of other critical stakeholder activities required to move at the same rate as what the industry is expected to move to ensure a successful transition to an electrified future. So let me set the context of how we've arrived to where we are today. I'm talking about Honda. Shortly after he took office, our current global CEO provided the world with an overview of the breakneck pace that we'd already set on our path to electrification, along with details on how we were going to maintain our momentum for the long term. Now, during that news conference, he pledged to increase the ratio of battery electric and fuel cell electric vehicles sold in North America to 100% by 2040, setting the expected tone and pace for Honda around the world. Now, this measured path to electrification included a period of transition through hybrids, allowing time for large-scale EV production and consumer adoption to ramp up. We continue to believe that selling more hybrids in the short term to a larger group of customers is a key factor to reducing GHGs more quickly across our entire fleet and is a logical step to consumers gradually embracing electrified products as more favorable market conditions develop. In fact, we are introducing hybrid powertrains across our core model lineup and are expecting hybrids to represent 50% of our sales by 2024. So while the industry pursues its specific EV goals, Honda is in a position to quickly drive down vehicle emissions today. To support those goals globally, to support those global goals locally, as we begin this transition, the federal and provincial governments joined us in early 2022 to support our $1.38 billion investment in the retooling of our Alliston, Ontario plant. A few short months later, the 2023 Honda CR-V Hybrid, the first hybrid built by Honda Canada, rolled off the assembly line. The CR-V Hybrid will help to immediately drive down our carbon footprint even further. And we'll see a great impact, a much greater impact, as we add the Civic Hybrid to our lineup. We are grateful for the support of the Ontario and federal governments in this electrification transition and appreciate all the efforts that are putting forth to protect and indeed expand the Canadian automotive industry in the process. But the need for speed is now, and more specifically, the development of battery electric vehicles. Arriving early in 2024, Honda will introduce the Prologue, the first battery electric vehicle co-developed in partnership with General Motors. This partnership will also lead to the launch of the first all-electric Acura, the ZDX, which will arrive shortly after. We're simultaneously developing products built on our own Honda e-architecture platform, a platform system that will be key to expanding our electrified product portfolio starting in 2025. 2026. And in 2027, we will be launching an affordable compact SUV or a lineup of compact SUVs in partnership with General Motors. These will be critical models as a percentage of sales required by federal and provincial regulations at that time will require mass adoption of attractive and economical EVs by middle-class Canadians. When all said and done, we will have 30 new Honda and Acura EVs and 15 electric motorcycles available for the global market by 2030, with many coming to North America. This accelerated timeline means that we have to significantly compress our normal product development cycles. To that end, we have recently made some critical organizational changes to address this challenge, and I've also leveraged advanced virtual reality and mixed reality technologies to fast-track the development of new vehicles. While here at home, we are investing in Honda Canada manufacturing to support hybrid production, critical investments are well underway across North America. We are investing $700 million to retool several of our auto and powertrain plants in Ohio to produce electric vehicles. We are creating what we are calling an e-village in that state that will bring together a network of key technology partners to within 80-kilometer radius of those plants. This will allow us to accelerate our development plans and have ready access to the resources we need to build EVs in volume. One such supplier is LG Energy Solution. We recently broke ground on a $4 billion joint venture battery plant set to open in 2026, aligned to provide the gigawatts needed to bring our own e-architecture products to market. Of course, alliances and partnerships like this one and the ones we have with General Motors and others serve to share resources and expertise with the goal of accelerating the execution of our electrification plans and meet the aggressive regulatory requirement timelines. However, developing our own Honda-driven solution is already in progress. I made mention of our e-architecture platforms a while ago, but we have also recently announced that we will produce an all-new hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle based on the recently launched all-new Honda CR-V starting in 2024 and built at our Performance Manufacturing Center in Marysville, Ohio. It will be North America's first production vehicle to combine plug-in feature with hydrogen technology in one model. I believe this is going to be a game changer moving forward. Honda is also working diligently to perfect solid-state battery technology and developing manufacturing processes to lower production costs. Now, we are very bullish on this technology to help achieve price parity with internal combustion engine products and obviously to promote mass consumer adoption of EVs. Solid-state batteries weigh less, require less charging time, offer a longer driving range, and perhaps most important of all, deliver better dynamic performance. All qualities desired by our consumers, our customers. And in the end, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Delivering what customers expect of Honda. In all, Honda has committed a massive $70 billion investment in R&D over the next 10 years, with $40 billion dedicated to electric vehicle batteries and software development. So clearly the commitment is there. The pieces of the plan are coming together. Things are happening very fast, and we will be ready. As our investment commitment indicates, the cost of this effort is significant. It is now, obviously, but will continue to be in years ahead as we transition to an electrified future. Now, if you take the industry view, it's clear that all OEMs are all in on electrification and moving in that direction. If you take all the electrification investments and the commitments pronounced by manufacturers as well as those of their partner suppliers around the globe, I think you will agree that the auto industry as an entity could be deemed too big to fail in that quest. The stakes are much too high, and the consequences of failure much too far-reaching. So the time is now to debate how we are going to get this done in a sustainable way. Established manufacturers and suppliers must transition their existing business in a practical, orderly way to balance producing and selling profitable products in the short term in order to fund EV investments and ensuring a sustainable transition for the long term. all while complying with aggressive regulations from various jurisdictions that have significant financial consequences if not met. There is no doubt the industry and market dynamics will find their balance over time. I'm very confident about that. The real challenge, in my view, are the transformation years leading to 2030. The speed of execution to meet current regulations involves a complex web of actions from many stakeholders that need to be coordinated in very short order. Now, I have read many opinion articles, listened to many podcasts, and attended conferences like this one on the topic of the feasibility of Canada's climate change plans. And I was particularly interested in hearing the perspectives from those stakeholders from the electrification supply chain, from mining to battery manufacturing, and other critical players in the ecosystem, like utility companies and charging infrastructure suppliers. It was clear to me the success of the auto industry depends on the parallel progress made in those respective industries. And what I have gleaned as a general takeaway is that to ensure that all the pieces of the electrification puzzle to progress as fast as the auto industry is mandated to move, there needs to be a massive coordination effort. And that effort needs to be led by government. First, let me say that I truly believe consumers at large care about the environment. But they are first and foremost transactional in their approach to buying a vehicle. The fact of the matter is, if customer psychological barriers are not urgently addressed, affordability, range, anxiety, charging infrastructure, mass adoption will not be possible. The price is too high, and the convenience of owning an EV is in question. We are headed on a collision course. And as it stands today, according to global accounting firm Ernst & Young, Canada ranks 13th of the 14 vehicle markets surveyed on the EV readiness scale. Simply stated, Canada's support and sense of urgency on affordability and charging infrastructure does not currently align with its EV mandate ambitions. As it stands today, the average transaction price for an EV in Canada is in the range of what was considered a luxury vehicle not too long ago, well beyond the means of average Canadians. And with the rising cost of critical minerals and precious metals created by all industry players scrambling to secure supply for battery production, there doesn't seem to be any reprieve on that front, at least in the short term. As it stands today, Canada's charging infrastructure is woefully underdeveloped for its electrification ambitions. The most recent charging needs assessment suggests that for every 24 EVs on the road by 2030, Canada will need one public charger. Compare this with California's 1-to-12 ratio and the European Union's 1-to-10 ratio. Now, given the difference with our climate and larger territory, vast network of highways, and expanded driving requirements, I think we're safe to say here that we will need more public chargers, not less. And we haven't even broached the subject of convenient charging for apartment and condo dwellers, what we affectionately call garage orphans, who represent 35% plus of the Canadian population and concentrated in our most densely populated cities. Those are the things that keep me up at night. With the massive investments and the speed with which we are bringing EVs to market, what happens if these issues are not addressed with the required urgency? What happens if a growing number of early adopters have negative experiences and their voice dissuade others behind them from buying the EVs we need to sell to comply with these regulations? I think you can imagine the impact this would have on our business, the government's climate change ambitions, and the overall Canadian economy. The risks cannot be overstated. Now, perhaps I'm being a little dramatic, but I think it helps me make a few salient points about the future. One, industry, electrification, ecosystem stakeholders and governments must work together to build and ensure our supply chain can sustainably transition to the electrification area and take advantage of the economic opportunities it presents to expand the Canadian automotive supply chain. While there has been good progress on that front, a fast and aggressive response to the US IRA plan is required to keep those efforts on track. Now, we must remember that strategic manufacturing and supply chain decisions for auto manufacturers are generally made at the global level. Governments need to continue their efforts to aggressively position Canada competitively to attract these investments. 2, governments must increase their support to assist customers or consumers making the transition to EVs. The eagerness of early adopters is not to be confused with the more hesitant future consumers we need to transition to EVs when 20, 30, 40% of our sales mix, leading up to 60% by 2030, is required to meet government's proposed legislations. 3, government must play an active role to ensure a rapid and strategic expansion of the Canadian public charging infrastructure network with increased financial support and in the development of standards relative to payment methods and uptime for chargers. And when I mean active, I mean hands-on. My sense right now is there's more, let's put some dollars out there and let's see what happens, and we can't afford to have that time gap for hoping things will happen. And 4, the federal government must improve Canada's EV readiness by coordinating and correlating actions from all stakeholders, and by that I mean provinces, municipalities, manufacturers, utilities, infrastructure providers, and as I heard earlier, maybe universities in terms of training, so that solutions to these challenges could be developed and implemented in alignment with EV sales targets. As I have mentioned many times in my remarks, it's about speed. Like many of you here, we have made massive investments in the electrification opportunity before us. Governments have a critical role in collaborating with us, setting reasonable targets and timelines, and above all else, having the determination and swiftness to create parallel market conditions that lead to success. This is critical to Honda, our business partners, and indeed the industry as a whole, to ensure we remain healthy, growing, and profitable through the transition. In closing, Honda has always risen to this type of challenge in the past, but none more consequential and none with a heavier reliance on external factors to move in lockstep with us to succeed. I'm quite certain this applies to many of you in this room. So while we cannot be blind to the challenges of the road ahead, I am confident that Canada can prevail in the electrification race. We have the expertise, the talent, the required resources, the technology. What we need is a highly coordinated and strategic national approach in sync with the required speed of execution, and that will cause us to win. Thank you for your attention.